This is Braden Walake, but you might know him better as the guy who posted a crying selfie on LinkedIn because he had to fire some employees after a mistake that he made. But posting a crying selfie to LinkedIn has got to be the worst idea since James Charles admitted to child on his own YouTube channel.
These conversations should have never happened, point blank period. There's no excuse for it, there's no ifs, ands, or buts, and I take full responsibility for that. I trusted the information that was given to me rather than the information I could have and should have gotten myself.
But the selfie isn't even the most astonishing thing about this entire situation. The real insanity comes from the content of the post itself. It is the most egomaniacal, self-victimizing garbage that I have ever seen spewed from an individual online. This man is so out of touch with reality. I don't think this man even knows that there are other people in the world that also have feelings and need jobs. This will be the most vulnerable thing I'll ever share, which is the LinkedIn equivalent of a YouTuber about to do an apology video and then he does that deep sigh right before. I've gone back and forth on whether or not to post this. We just had to lay off a few of our employees. I'm failing to see how him talking about his employees' lives falling apart because they've just lost their jobs makes Braden feel vulnerable, but I'm also not the CEO of 2 companies and also a 5 times college dropout, which is an insane flex, and maybe if you'd passed basic management classes, you wouldn't have doxed your staff right after uprooting their lives. I've seen a lot of layoffs over the past few weeks on LinkedIn. Most of those are due to the economy or whatever reason. Ours? My fault. I like how he says, or whatever reason, as if the only reason anybody would ever be laid off from a job is because the economy of the entire country was tanking. I'm imagining him in a classroom in front of a test that says, what could possibly cause layoffs from a company? Then he's just like, the economy, and then whatever other reason. And then after failing, he drops out for the 5th time. It's also important to note that he says this is all his fault, which becomes significant in just a minute. I made a decision in February and stuck with that decision for far too long. Now, I know my team will say that we made that decision together, but I lead us into it. And because of those failings, I had to do today the toughest thing I've ever had to do. See, this is pure insanity because he admits it's all his fault, but instead of actually taking any real responsibility for his actions or taking the punches as they come, he just decides, nah, f you guys that are under me. I led you into this, and now you're all losing your jobs over it, even though you were doing exactly what I told you to do. I mean, this is accountability avoidance 101. You cause a problem, and then you punish everyone else for it. We've always been a people-first business, and we always will be. No, you're not. No business is a people-first business. By definition, businesses are profit-first. Now, if you were people-first, you would have kept the people you're firing. But since you're actually profit-first, that's why you're firing them. You see, charities are people-first, and businesses are profits-first. Days like today, I wish I was a business owner that was only money-driven and didn't care about who he hurt along the way. But I'm not. Even if you're a little upset about letting these people go, you are more money-driven than you are care-driven. If you care more about people than you do about money, then when things go bad, you keep the people and you lose the money. But since you care more about money than you do about people, when things got bad, you kept the money and you fired the people. That is literally what you did because you value the money more than you value the people. And no amount of white, sad girl, crocodile tears apologizing on Instagram is gonna change that fact. So I just want people to see that not every CEO out there is cold-hearted and doesn't care when he/she has to lay people off. I don't think people think you're cold-hearted so much as they think you are just wildly out of touch with reality. And at the very least, they think you're an insane egomaniac for deciding that destroying the lives of those you had hired and taken responsibility for was more important than suffering the consequences of your own actions. I'm sure there are hundreds and thousands of others like me, the ones you don't get to see talked about, because they didn't lay off 50 or 500 or 5,000 employees. They laid off 1 or 2. 1 or 2 or 3 that would still be here if better decisions had been made. Stop saying they would still be here if better decisions had been made because you made the decisions. And you made the decisions to let them go. You actively chose to fire them. There is no one forcing you into this. I know it isn't professional to tell my employees that I love them. It is not. And if someone came to me and told me that their employer said that they loved them, I would ask if they worked at Activision Blizzard. But from the bottom of my heart, I really hope they know how much I do. Every single one, every single story, every single thing that makes them smile, and every single thing that makes them cry. Their families, their friends, their hobbies. This is just creepy. You know the story of every single employee? You know what makes every single one of them cry? Fellas, if your boss wants to know your family, your friends, your hobbies, what makes you laugh, and what makes you cry, he's going to wear your skin as a mask, and he's going to take over your life. There is no way you can persuade me that is not what is happening here. And I can't think of a lower moment than this. Really? You can't think of a single moment lower than you making more money because you shrank payroll. Because if I had to guess, I would say the employees that you've fired, whose futures are now suddenly very uncertain, are probably at a lower point than you are. And then the comments are basically just everyone tearing into him for how tone deaf he is and how he doxed his employees by dragging them into the post without their explicit consent on any of this. So then they got dragged into everything that was going on while they were going through the struggles of a career transition. But then as it all went viral, he made an update. Hey everyone, yes, I am the crying CEO. No, my intent was not to make it about me or victimize myself. I am sorry it came across that way. And that's a weird thing to say because in the post, he mentioned the employees he had fired twice. And then in that same post, he referenced himself 77 times. But maybe don't listen to me. After all, I am clearly inferior to Braden since I made it through college on the first try. And then after this, the rest of his updates are just him trying to save face by having people post resumes in the comments if they're looking for a job. And then he made a public post about one of his employees that he had let go, trying to help them find their next career. Except in that post I just mentioned where he's trying to get a guy named Noah a job, the first person he compliments is not Noah. It is Noah's wife. Personally, Noah has an incredible wife and 2 amazing daughters. He's a Midwestern dad who loves spending his weekends on his next home project. He participates in lots of local plays in his town of... Yeah, Noah's a great guy, but his wife... Ooh-wee, his wife is hot. I mean, like, he was good at sales or whatever, but this man's wife, she had the absolute fattest ass. Now, I hope the employees that he gave the boot are able to find better jobs with employers that'll take responsibility for their own actions and not fire people because they mess something up. But I mean, realistically, what are the chances of that? By the way, I'm live on this channel now at 6 p.m. Eastern on Fridays. We watch videos, play games, and just generally hang out, and I would love to see you all there.